quite a lengthy speech. He said he'd hoped to continue, bizarrely, he'd hoped to continue working with the Greens as a minority government, but he underestimated the level of hurt and upset that he'd caused by terminating their coalition agreement. He talked about repairing relationships across the political divide, about how he was not able to do that. A leadership contest will begin. He will remain in office until that leadership contest is ended. He did, as we knew he would. He had to talk about honour and principle, but he also talked about how people who look like me went in office, and talked about how, he said, far too often hatred continues, toxic culture wars, and how the most marginalised bear the brunt, and we must resist populism, he said. But he also said, he doesn't bear any ill will, no grudges, he says, against anyone. Talked about the mental and physical toll that the job and all this what's been going on has taken on him. Got pretty emotional, as you probably heard and saw there, when he talked about his wife and children at the end. Well, look, let's come back to our guest, Ian McWhirter, is Times columnist and also a columnist with The Spectator on this. Ian McWhirter, it was a very personal, very emotional speech, but also betrayed a complete lack of sort of political sophistication, surely, with him saying that, yeah, I thought I could just say, yeah, we're no longer in coalition, I don't need you Greens, and then they would carry on helping me stay in office. Who on earth would have thought that that would have worked out?
Yeah, absolutely astonishing. He'd said that the Greens were worth their weight in gold, and he was fully committed to the Butte House Agreement, and then a couple of days later he showed them the door in the most dramatic way. He just summoned them to a meeting early on Thursday morning and just told them that they were out. So, he must surely have realised that they would not take this well, they would not take this kindly. If he didn't realise it, surely some of the people around him would have, because he has a large number of special advisors, and some very skilled political anoraks in Butte House. So I can't account for that. So he is, yes, indeed, very emotional. He's on his way. He's on his way now. But what he leaves behind is a party in utter chaos, because what he said, he will stay there until there's another leader elected. The next leader will have to somehow appeal to the Greens, otherwise they will not be able to function.
Or Alaba, or to Alex Salmond's Alaba party to get Ash Regan's vote. Because he did say...
No, that option is obviously not going to happen, because that's what he thought. He would scrape through in the back of some kind of alliance with Salmond's Alba party, but the party, clearly, the SNP, would not accept that. They just didn't want anything to do with Alex Salmond anymore.
So you think that's not an option? It's interesting. He said, I'm not willing to trade my values and principles to do a deal with whoever to stay in power, which is quite interesting. But would someone else be willing to do that, to stay in power? It depends. Might be easier for someone else. But you're saying the party themselves, the anger at Alex Salmond is so great for setting up this rival party and all that happened, and his attacks on Nicola Sturgeon, that's not going to happen.
Well, clearly, the next leader is going to be in exactly the same position he is in.
Yeah.
In fact, it's going to be worse than that, because the Greens will now decide who the next leader of the SNP is, and they will decide who is going to be First Minister of Scotland, because they've said they will not support Kate Forbes, the Highland MP, who is generally regarded as the most competent and the most likely to succeed. She drove Hamza Yousaf very close last year in the leadership election. They've said, no way, we're not having that. It's got to be someone who's on our side of the fence. Yeah. Who that could be, perhaps...
John Swinney is...
You didn't mention John Swinney, I don't think. I lost contact with it towards the end.
No, I didn't hear any mention of any particular names. What about, there's lots of talk about...
He mentioned any interim leader.
No.
But,
what about...
Jenny Gold-Ruth is probably someone who the Greens could do business with, but she's very much on the kind of woke left of the party.
But he said he was going to stay on until a new leader was found. What about someone like Stephen McPhee? Although he's the leader of the party in Westminster, I should probably know this, whether or not he's an MSP as well. Could he? He's a fantastic political performer in Westminster. Would he be a popular figure to take over as leader?
Well, he could be, conceivably. It's much more difficult for an MP, because he'd have to leave. The First Minister has to be an MSP in Parliament, so he'd have to leave, get a safe seat. Someone would have to relinquish their constituency to him so he could get into the Scottish Parliament to be able to be elected as First Minister. So that's quite a long route. I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah.
I think it's probably going to be between Kate Forbes and Jenny Gilruth. But as I say, the Greens now hold the whip hand. They're going to decide. This party, which has less than 8% of the vote in Scotland and has this eccentric agenda of trans politics, this party is going to decide the next First Minister of Scotland. Yeah. And that's an extraordinary situation to be in.
Absolutely. It's fascinating. Ian McWhirter, thank you so much for joining us. He's a Times and Spectator columnist, also author of the book Disunited Kingdom, about the 2014 Scottish referendum. He said he doesn't expect another referendum anytime soon.